Good morning. Welcome to Bingham Group's Big Three, top headlines for Austinites and those interested in our city every Monday and Friday. Our Big Three stories for today are here. Austin's FC has their first MLS win. Hundreds of jobs are moving out of the Austin Police Department to other city departments. And the COVID-19 vaccine demand drops in Texas. This is the Big Three. And we start here today. There was history to be made for Austin FC on Saturday night after a 2-0 opening loss at LAFC last weekend. The expansion club still hasn't gotten a first MLS goal, let alone a first draw or win. That all changed with 3 goals inside of 12 electric second half minutes, leading to Austin FC's 3-1 win at Dick's Sporting Goods Park over the Colorado Rapids. Austin FC head coach Josh Wolf said, obviously, it's a momentous occasion for the city and for this organization. He went on to say, I said in our pregame meeting, we're going to fight together, we're going to suffer together, and we're going to win together. And we're coming out here to play. That's what we're here to do, and we did all of those things. Wolf said the change from the first to the second half had a lot to do with the philosophies of the ball movement and space creation that the team's been working on since coming together for the first time 2 months ago. But he also acknowledged Cecilio Dominguez, Austin's first ever designated player who scored the go-ahead goal in the 67th minute and then repeated the feat 4 minutes later. Austin's FC will play Minnesota United FC on May 1st at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. The team's first home game will be Saturday, June 19th at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time against the San Jose Earthquakes. Well, the Austin City Council is transferring hundreds of jobs out of the Austin Police Department after a vote Thursday. The council approved an ordinance that creates an emergency communications department, which is part of the city council's plan to reallocate about a third of the APD's funding. Under this change, 284.5 full-time equivalent positions will be moved outside the department. A total of 222 of the impacted positions are communication staff members. The other 62.5 positions are alarm administration, human resources, public information, and facility maintenance staff. About $33 million worth of funding will be transferred out of the APD's budget as a result of this change. At the city council meeting, interim police chief Joseph Chacon said he had already spoken with communication staff about the change. He said this really is something that is happening kind of off in the background, but for them would not mean a lot of change to their day-to-day operations. Other jobs moving out of the police department and into other city departments will include human resources, alarms administration, public information, and building services positions. Allison Alter, who is a member of the council in Austin, said in none of these cases are we spending less money on public safety and these functions. She went on to say we're moving where they're accounted for and the reporting structures for that. Mayor Pro Tem Natasha Harper Madison said during the Thursday meeting last year, we had thousands upon thousands of people telling us that they wanted to see change. We responded. This item is just really, one of the fruits of that action. She went on to say, I want to make sure that nobody believes that this in any way is our desire to diminish the ability of officers on the street to respond and do their jobs. It helps our police department zero in on this focus. Well, our last story for today, after months of not having enough COVID-19 vaccines to meet demand, Texas suddenly appears to have plenty of shots, but not as many people lining up to receive them, even though more than 3/4 of the state still isn't fully vaccinated. Local health officials say efforts to vaccinate older Texans have been successful. As of April 21st, nearly 60% of Texans aged 65 and older have been fully vaccinated. Since the state opened vaccinations to all adults on May 29th, around 1/5 of Texans between 16 to 49 years old, who make up the biggest population of eligible adults, have been fully vaccinated. Imelda Garcia, who's the Associate Commissioner of Laboratory and Infectious Disease Services for DSHS, said in a Thursday press conference, it seems we're getting to the point that most people eager to get vaccinated have gotten at least their first dose. She went on to say the next phase will be about helping to ensure that vaccine is more easily available to those folks who are not going to go as far out of their way. Vaccination rates vary across Texas. Most large urban and suburban counties, except for Tarrant County, are above the overall state in terms of the percentage of people who've received at least one dose. Along the border, a region that has particularly hit hard by the pandemic, more than 40% of the population in many counties, including El Paso, Star, and Cameron, have gotten a dose, compared with 36% statewide. But in other small rural counties, the vaccination numbers are much lower. In roughly 50 of those counties, less than a quarter of the population have received a vaccine dose as of April 21st. Vaccination efforts are still missing people who have faced obstacles for months, said Catherine Trezzini, an infectious disease epidemiologist with UT Health School of Public Health in Houston. Some lack of internet access or the computer skills to make an online appointment, while others lack transportation to receive a vaccine provider. And Black and Hispanic Texans continue to be vaccinated at lower rates than whites, even as appointments become more available across the state. But the Johnson & Johnson pause also made it more difficult to convince some people to get vaccinated at all. Marissa Gonzalez, a community outreach program manager for Dallas County Health and Human Services, organizes vaccination registration events and said while her events had plenty of action before, only a handful of people signed up at her location in West Dallas on Thursday. Gonzalez said especially after Johnson & Johnson was paused, anybody who had any kind of reluctancy now really has more reluctancy. She wanted to say a lot of people still don't trust it. Well, those are our big three stories for today. Out now is the BG Podcast episode 139. It's a Q1 2021 review about COVID-19's impact on the built environment, and it's with Michael Shu. You can listen to prior recordings at bgmediagp.com/BG Podcasts. And we want to thank you so much for listening to the Big Three from the Bingham Group. We'd appreciate your comments, your likes, your reshares, and make sure you follow this account for regular updates. And we're going to see you on Friday afternoon for our next Big Three segment.